I like to think I portray him as an innocent chap, a nature boy sort of thing, if you excuse the expression. Um, Full of life and happy individual. And I try not to make him into a bully boy, always pushing Mima around and coming in and smashing everything on Mima's head, which I've always seen it done in the past. I like to try and play him as a happy, good-natured chap, full of verve and life, just wanting to know about who his mother and father were. As soon as Siegfried knows he has a sword that is going to be a great sword, a strong sword, he tells Mima to get on with it and make it. And he dances out into the wood, you know, and tells his friends, his bear friends and whoever he can see about this sword. During this little interval, the wanderer comes in and asks his questions to Mima, which is a very nice thing for Siegfried. Gives him a chance to rest a bit before the gigantic scene about forging the sword, which is a great respite for him, considering he's on stage the rest of the evening. And then he comes back, and of course the sword is not been forged. It hasn't been made at all, because Mima cannot make it. It's too hard. Now, Mima before has always told Siegfried he's a lazy man, a lazy individual. He'd never watched him making steel, or how he forged steel together. Siegfried says, well, just give me the pieces, I'll show you how to make it myself. And he makes the sword, hence the great forging scene. It's very high. You have to be able to sing a tempi, one tempi, and tap with your hammer on the anvil, making the sword in another tempi. Pure syncopation. I used to have separate calls on the tappings, you know, the banging of the sword, for half an hour after each rehearsal to get it right. During rehearsals, I broke 3 hammers in the forging scene because they designed alloy hammers, very nice looking, and they forgot alloy breaks easily when you hit steel with them, so they were thrown out. In the end, they just went to the local ironmongers and bought a couple of plain hammers and titivated them up to look like old hammers, you know, bits of rope on them and things. Yes, there were hammerheads flying through the air at rehearsals. He thinks a man in armor on the top of the mountain, and he cannot understand why it's asleep. Back to Sleeping Beauty, he kisses the face, and he finds out. Before that, he realizes it's a woman when he lifts the breastplate. Hence the funny comic phrase, "This is no man," or "That is no man." That very famous line, if it's done with a suddenness, you know, and jumps back in amazement and says, "That's not a man," you know, "Das ist kein Mann." I mean, everybody'd laugh. But we did it with the production at Sadler's Wells, where I was just kneeling and I hardly made a quick, you know, excitable turn away. I just said what it said in the score, softly, but with amazement, but not jumping up and backing off as if he's frightened to death of what's on the earth before him. It's a very beautiful scene, very reminiscent of Othello, Verdi's Othello, some of the music. He sees this figure in armor, but also he sees a horse too asleep behind the pines. And he climbs further up the mountain, and he realizes it's a wonderful person, whoever it is, in this guise. But then he's very frightened to waken this person. Then he calls on his mother, thinking it's fear. And what should I do? He calls to his mother. And then he decides to cut the armor. And then, hey presto, Brunhilde.